an Irish woman with the name of Layburn here. I grew up in Dublin, where I was born and raised till I was around 7 years old. Then my family relocated to Boulogne, and I also adored that place. You felt like you were transported to the countryside. To me, seeing angels in the flesh is quite ordinary and unremarkable. I had issues with my stomach ever since I was a little child, and the angels warned me about it. I never once complained until they finally insisted I see a doctor. I went to the doctor and just explained that I was experiencing gastrointestinal issues. After referring me to a doctor who conducted an examination and immediately scheduled surgery, he discharged me. He removed my entire large intestine and a significant portion of my small intestine as soon as he saw something was wrong. I passed away at that moment. Withdrew from my mortal form. Heaven was my immediate destination. I experienced a rapid pace. Suddenly, I felt like I was right there. It's not easy to put into words. Completely pain-free, you're outstanding. Your soul is that glimmer of light, of God, of the Creator. It is not your physical body that is laying on a bed with physicians and nurses surrounding you. For me, the fact that you are a part of God is very astounding. As of right now, I don't think people understand it. It is up to you. Awakening to your soul is something you can choose to do. The man I loved very much, my dad, was there. Catching fish was one of his favorite activities. Actually, my dad was much younger when he passed away. He wasn't ancient by any stretch of the imagination. He seemed much younger than 20, at least in his spirit. That hat he was wearing was adorable. He had manufactured all these little flies, and they were in it. Even though my physical body wasn't present, I hurried to him as if a chasm were gradually opening up between us and all the other spirits and angels. It was as if my arms were alive, yet they weren't. This was the most amazing existence ever. I then flung them about him as a gesture of surrender. Because that is what your soul is. It was as if two souls were touching. God touching God in that way. And that was really astounding. In my opinion, that's one less issue for us to be concerned about. They are still with you in spirit. Their physical form has passed on. Why? Because there are moments when we think we're leaving them behind when we actually aren't. Leaving them is impossible. Whenever you need them, they will be by your side, no matter where you are in the world or in the cosmos. The presence is palpable, and you could even get a sight of them. Possibly you will be able to detect their voices. Also, we constantly receive messages from those we care about. They are keeping an eye on us. Belief shouldn't be contingent upon our physical departure from this world, because what gives us reason to doubt at this moment? It felt as if I were levitating on a treadmill made of air. I did nothing more than stand there. Additionally, I knew that the angels were on my side. They stood tall and majestic, like giants. Occasionally, one or two would glance down at me with a smile and encourage me to climb quickly. And I could hear their words clearly, even though they were so high up, since I was way down, and God was there as well. Lauren, I was told by God that I needed to return. Wow, there's a lot on your plate. Keep your distance from me. That is one thing about which God is consistent. Lauren, why do you keep hiding from me? He continues to ask relentlessly to this day. Trust me, I do it frequently. Why can't I hide here? I prayed to God. Remaining hidden here is preferable to doing so in the human world. In addition, he insisted that I return to my hiding place immediately. Yes, I returned. It was against my will. I would have abandoned my children, whom I loved dearly, but the thought didn't sit well with me. Still, I had faith in their abilities. Your return is contingent upon the return of your mate. Also, I'm sure a lot of people would ask, why did they return? Then what is this wonderful thing I am to do? Everybody can do it. Always love is at the core. Still, people look to love as a benchmark, but they fail to comprehend its depths. I spent what felt like an eternity in the intensive care unit. I was that terrible. I remained hooked up to a respirator. From time to time, I recall the surgeon making rounds. On sometimes, he would just place his hand in mine. However, I did find solace in the sight of the numerous spirits and angels gathered around my bed. Nobody knew who they were to me. It seemed like thousands upon thousands of angels and souls were moving in a continuous march by my bed. Additionally, I recall the moment they removed the tube since they had determined that I could breathe independently. After that, the surgeon came back around and wanted to know my name. Also, when I gave him my name, he seemed surprised. "Do you know where you are?" "Yes, in the hospital," I responded. "It was you who operated on me. He gave me that wide-eyed expression. You were gone for 10 minutes, he whispered to me. "Surely you can't." Brain injury was what we were anticipating. There was no sign of us being back. They were baffled as to how they had re-engaged me. Joe was this gorgeous young man I met, and we were head over heels for each other. What stands out in my memory is a time just before we were married, when we were riding in his car, and I felt a strong urge to tell him something. I was frightened to tell Joe too. I obeyed orders even though I could physically see angels. He heard me say, "By the way, I see angels physically. Only priests and nuns have spiritual experiences." He looked at me with that expression on his face, and I'll never forget his words. I exit the vehicle after he only kisses me on the cheek. "He has departed," I told God and the angels. "Clearly, you were mistaken in that regard." He wasn't, though, of course. We tied the knot and raised our 4 children in the humble home on Manu. Joe began to experience a decline in his health. Over time, he underwent heart surgery, triple bypass, suffered from strokes, and developed diabetes. But I'll never forget climbing into bed with his guardian angel by my side, hearing the news that he wouldn't wake up. I was merely to lie down at his side. I immediately retrieved my phone and rang the emergency number. To which he said what was going on right before the ambulance arrived. I had previously witnessed Joe's guardian angel shift into a different position and gently remove Joe's soul from his body. Light suddenly flooded the room. But the image of my son end rushing into the room to try to revive his dad will always be with me. For some reason, I was unable to convey the message, "Your dad is gone. You can't revive him," to him. My entire family, especially my children, went through that. A common question people have for me concerns the power of prayer, and my response is always the same. It's powerful. It can move mountains. It can change the world. Is a phrase I would frequently use. It would be very appreciated if everyone would increase their prayer life, not only for themselves and their loved ones, but also for those they do not personally know. And many would wonder, how can I pray? Since the subject of God and angels has been brought up, we have decided to pray. We're having this conversation about humanity, about caring for one another. We are sincerely praying because we are discussing our own souls. Praying is easy for me. No need to use a million words. It only takes a single word, idea, or deed. Thus, if you wish to pray while dancing, swinging, or swimming, that is your prayer of life. You are sending forth the light and hope of prayer from your soul into the universe, and everything is interconnected. Every single one of us has a responsibility to spread optimism across the globe. Simply said, hope is the fuel that keeps us going, the reason for living, the inspiration to dream big, and the fortitude to take the next step toward our goals. We have the power to transform this world in an instant if we all spread greater optimism and love. We could, I'm sure. I perceive an abundance of goodness. Even though there are many terrible aspects about us, the good and the loving far exceed them. By the way, I've never once prayed to God and asked, "What's my purpose of life?" To live is to exist, and I intend to do just that. If you don't experience life and embark on adventures, you're essentially wasting it. Instead than wondering what's around the corner, just go for it. Living is a blessing, no matter how difficult things get. This is your life. The fact that we are both still here and enjoying life to the fullest extent possible is a gift that we should treasure and give thanks for.